My beloved child, something extraordinary is unfolding behind the scenes, and this message has found you at exactly the right moment. Don't skip. Listen carefully. Stay till the end because what you are about to hear may change the way you see this connection forever. Your soulmate has been carrying a secret in their heart for a very long time. A secret they were not ready to share with just anyone. They protected it. They thought about it constantly. They replayed countless scenarios in their mind. But recently, something shifted, and they finally found the courage to tell their mother about you. For a long time, your soulmate kept their feelings private. Even when people around them asked questions about their future, relationships, or marriage, they avoided giving direct answers. They smiled, changed the subject, or kept their thoughts to themselves. But deep down, your presence remained in their heart. What happened next changed everything because the feelings they had been hiding became too powerful to ignore. They realized they could no longer pretend this connection was just another passing thought. One day, during what seemed like an ordinary conversation, the topic of relationships unexpectedly appeared. At first, your soulmate remained quiet. They listened. They hesitated. Their heart raced as they considered whether this was the moment they had been avoiding for so long. Then something remarkable happened. They spoke your name, or at least they spoke about the person who had captured their heart. For the first time, they allowed someone close to them to see the truth they had been carrying. My beloved child, the moment those words left their lips, they felt both relief and fear. Relief because they were finally being honest. Fear because they did not know how their mother would respond. Questions immediately began filling their mind. Would she understand? Would she approve? Would she see what they saw? This changes everything because your soulmate suddenly realized how important this connection had become. They would not have taken this step if their feelings were not real. Stay till the end because something huge is waiting for you. As your soulmate shared more details, their mother listened carefully. She paid attention to the way they spoke. She noticed the emotion in their voice. She saw a side of them that rarely appeared when discussing other people. There was something different about this conversation, and she could feel it immediately. The more your soulmate talked, the clearer it became that this was not a temporary crush or a passing fascination. They spoke about respect. They spoke about admiration. They spoke about a connection they could not easily explain. And then came the moment that left them completely speechless. Their mother smiled in a way they did not expect. What happened next changed everything. Instead of responding with doubt or concern, she asked questions that revealed genuine curiosity. She wanted to know what made this person so special. She wanted to understand why your soulmate's eyes seemed brighter when talking about them. She listened not with judgment, but with interest. The conversation that your soulmate feared might become difficult was turning into something completely different. My beloved child, there was a moment during this discussion when your soulmate's mother said something that stayed with them long after the conversation ended. She told them that real connections are rare. She reminded them that not every person enters your life and leaves a lasting impact. She encouraged them to pay attention to what their heart was trying to tell them. Those words struck deeply because they echoed feelings your soulmate had been struggling to understand themselves. As the conversation continued, your soulmate felt something they had not felt in a long time: hope. The fear they carried began to fade. The uncertainty became lighter. For the first time, they allowed themselves to imagine that perhaps this connection was not only meaningful to them, but something worth pursuing openly and honestly. Stay till the end because the story is far from over. After the conversation ended, your soulmate could not stop thinking about what had happened. They replayed every word, every reaction, every piece of advice. What surprised them most was not simply what their mother said, but how naturally the conversation unfolded. The support they feared they might not receive appeared when they needed it most. My beloved child, this moment has created a powerful shift within them. The doubts that once held them back are beginning to lose their strength. The courage to move forward is growing. The possibility of a future they once hesitated to imagine is becoming more real with every passing day. And here is the twist that changes everything. Before the conversation ended, their mother shared one final thought, one that your soulmate was not expecting to hear. The words were simple, yet they carried incredible meaning. They planted a seed of confidence that has continued growing ever since. Those words are now influencing a decision your soulmate is preparing to make. A decision that could bring them closer to the future they truly desire. Because, my beloved child, telling their mother about you was not the end of the story. It was the beginning of a brand new chapter. A chapter filled with courage, honesty, and possibilities that once seemed out of reach. But what their mother says next, and how it influences your soulmate's next move, is something that will leave everyone surprised. My beloved child, the words their mother spoke continued echoing in your soulmate's mind long after the conversation ended. They tried to focus on other things, but something about that moment felt different. It was as if a door had opened inside their heart, a door they had kept locked for far too long. Listen carefully, because what happened next changed everything. For years, your soulmate had become used to carrying their feelings alone. They rarely allowed people to see the depth of their emotions. Even when they cared deeply about someone, they often kept those feelings hidden beneath a calm exterior. But after speaking with their mother, they realized something important. The connection they felt was no longer something they wanted to keep buried in silence. The truth had finally been spoken aloud, and once spoken, it became impossible to ignore. The next few days were filled with reflection. Your soulmate replayed every word their mother had said. They remembered the encouragement. They remembered the understanding. Most of all, they remembered the moment when she looked at them and noticed something they had not even fully admitted to themselves. She noticed how differently they spoke when the conversation turned toward you. The warmth in their voice. The sincerity in their eyes. The emotion they could no longer hide. My beloved child, this is where the story takes an unexpected turn. One evening, their mother brought up the conversation again. Your soulmate was surprised. They thought the topic had passed. They assumed it had simply been another discussion about life and relationships. But their mother had been thinking about it too. She had noticed things that your soulmate did not realize were visible. What happened next changed everything because she asked a question that stopped them in their tracks. She asked, "When was the last time I saw you talk about someone this way?" The room became quiet. Your soulmate searched for an answer, but none came. Deep down, they already knew the truth. There had not been anyone else. There had not been another connection that stirred their heart quite like this one. Stay till the end because something huge is waiting for you. Their mother listened carefully as they tried to explain their feelings. She listened as they described the connection, the thoughts they could not escape, and the way this person continued occupying their heart despite time and distance. The more she listened, the more convinced she became that this was not a passing emotion. This was something meaningful. Then came the moment that surprised your soulmate the most. Their mother smiled and said something they never expected to hear. She told them that sometimes life places a person in your path for a reason, and when that happens, fear should not be allowed to make the decision for you. Those words struck deeply. They felt less like advice and more like permission to stop hiding from their own heart. My beloved child, your soulmate left that conversation feeling different. Lighter. Stronger. More certain than they had been before. The doubts that once seemed overwhelming no longer felt as powerful. The fears that once controlled them began losing their influence. For the first time, they started imagining what might happen if they stopped holding back and started trusting what they felt. This changes everything because a shift has taken place inside them. They are no longer focused on reasons why the connection might not work. They are beginning to focus on reasons why it might. They are no longer dwelling on obstacles. They are beginning to think about possibilities. And every day that passes strengthens their resolve. Stay till the end because the most surprising part has not happened yet. Before their mother ended the conversation, she shared a story from her own life, one that your soulmate had never heard before. It was a story about taking a chance, following the heart, and refusing to let fear destroy something beautiful. The lesson behind that story stayed with them in a way they could not explain. Ever since hearing those words, your soulmate has felt a growing urge to take action. The silence they once accepted no longer feels comfortable. The distance they once tolerated no longer feels acceptable. They are beginning to understand that some opportunities must be embraced before they become regrets. And now, my beloved child, your soulmate stands at a crossroads. One path leads back to silence, uncertainty, and unanswered questions. The other leads toward honesty, courage, and the possibility of something extraordinary. The advice their mother gave is pushing them closer to a decision they can no longer avoid. A decision that may change the future in ways they never imagined. But the choice they are preparing to make next is the part of the story that will leave everyone speechless. My beloved child, the choice they are preparing to make is one that has been building in their heart for a very long time. After speaking with their mother, something inside them refused to return to the way it was before. The conversation awakened feelings they could no longer push aside. Every piece of advice, every encouraging word, and every moment of understanding planted a seed of courage within them. Listen carefully, because that seed is beginning to grow. In the days that followed, your soulmate found themselves thinking about you more than ever before. It was not just the memories that returned. It was the realization that their feelings had survived every attempt to ignore them. Time had not erased them. Distance had not weakened them. Doubt had not destroyed them. What happened next changed everything because they finally stopped viewing their emotions as a problem and started seeing them as a truth. For so long, your soulmate had focused on all the reasons to stay silent. They worried about timing. They worried about circumstances. They worried about things they could not control. But after hearing their mother's story and advice, they began asking a different question. Instead of asking, "What if this doesn't work?" they started asking, "What if this is exactly what my heart has been trying to tell me all along?" That single question shifted something powerful inside them. My beloved child, there were moments when they sat alone, reflecting on everything that had happened. They thought about the conversations they wished they had. They thought about the opportunities they let pass. They thought about the future they secretly hoped for but rarely allowed themselves to imagine. And every time they reflected, they arrived at the same conclusion: some feelings are too important to leave unspoken. Stay till the end because something huge is waiting for you. One evening, their mother noticed that they seemed lost in thought. She asked what was on their mind. After a long pause, your soulmate admitted something they had never said out loud before. They admitted that they were afraid, not of loving someone, but of losing the chance to tell the truth. The moment those words left their mouth, even they were surprised by how honest they sounded. Their mother listened quietly and then shared another piece of wisdom. She told them that regret often comes from the chances we never take, not from the risks we do. Those words struck deeply because they touched the exact fear your soulmate had been carrying. They suddenly realized that remaining silent would not protect them from pain. It would only guarantee unanswered questions. My beloved child, this changes everything because your soulmate is beginning to understand that courage does not mean being fearless. Courage means taking a step forward even when fear is present. And for the first time in a long time, they are considering taking that step. The walls they built around their heart are becoming weaker. The excuses they once relied on are losing their power. What happened next changed everything. Your soulmate started imagining what honesty might feel like. Not perfect outcomes. Not guarantees. Just honesty. They imagined the relief of finally expressing what had been hidden for so long. They imagined no longer carrying the burden alone. And surprisingly, the thought brought them peace rather than fear. Stay till the end because the story is reaching a turning point. The support they received from their mother has given them something they were missing before: belief. Belief that their feelings are valid. Belief that their heart deserves to be heard. Belief that some connections are worth fighting for rather than running from. Now, your soulmate stands closer than ever to a life-changing decision. The uncertainty that once controlled them is beginning to fade. The confidence they lacked is slowly appearing. They are no longer focused on what could go wrong. They are focused on what could finally go right. And here is the twist, my beloved child. Before leaving the room that night, their mother said one final sentence that has stayed with them ever since. She told them, "If someone brings peace to your heart, don't let fear convince you to walk away from them." Those words became the spark that ignited something powerful within your soulmate. Ever since that moment, they have been preparing for a step they once believed they would never take. And when that step finally happens, it will set in motion a chain of events that neither of you are fully prepared for. But what they decide to do next will change the entire story forever. My beloved child, the words their mother spoke that night became impossible for your soulmate to forget. No matter how hard they tried to focus on other things, those words kept returning to them. If someone brings peace to your heart, don't let fear convince you to walk away from them. At first, they simply reflected on the advice. But as the days passed, something deeper began to happen. Those words stopped feeling like advice and started feeling like a calling. For so long, your soulmate had allowed uncertainty to control their choices. They told themselves they needed more time. They convinced themselves that waiting was the safest option. Yet every day they delayed, their feelings only grew stronger. What happened next changed everything because they finally realized that silence was no longer protecting them. Instead, it was preventing them from moving toward the future they secretly wanted. My beloved child, there was a moment recently when they found themselves completely alone with their thoughts. No distractions. No outside opinions. No noise. Just their heart and the truth they had been avoiding. In that quiet moment, they admitted something powerful to themselves. They admitted that the connection they felt was not fading. It was growing. Every attempt to ignore it had failed because it was never meant to disappear. Stay till the end because something huge is waiting for you. After this realization, your soulmate began paying attention to the signs around them. Certain conversations seemed to appear at exactly the right time. Certain memories surfaced unexpectedly. Certain opportunities presented themselves in ways that felt almost impossible to explain. It was as if life itself was encouraging them to stop standing still and start moving forward. This changes everything because your soulmate is no longer asking whether they should trust their heart. They are beginning to ask how long they can continue ignoring it. The fear that once felt overwhelming is slowly losing its grip. In its place, a new feeling is emerging. Determination. A determination to stop wondering and start knowing. A determination to stop hiding and start expressing. One evening, their mother noticed the change immediately. She saw a confidence in them that had not been there before. She noticed that they spoke about the future differently. There was less hesitation in their voice and more conviction in their words. And when she asked what had changed, your soulmate simply smiled. For the first time, they felt closer to clarity than confusion. My beloved child, what happened next changed everything. Your soulmate started imagining a future where fear no longer made the decisions. A future where honesty replaced uncertainty. A future where they no longer had to carry unanswered questions in their heart. The more they imagined that future, the more real it began to feel. The most remarkable part is that they are no longer seeking approval from everyone around them. The conversation with their mother gave them reassurance, but the true transformation happened within themselves. They realized that the answer they had been searching for was never outside of them. It was already in their heart. They simply needed the courage to trust it. Stay till the end because the story is approaching its most important moment. Your soulmate has reached a crossroads where standing still is no longer an option. They can continue carrying their feelings in silence, or they can finally take a step toward the truth. And every sign points toward the same conclusion. The time for waiting is coming to an end. My beloved child, the person who once hesitated is beginning to disappear. In their place stands someone who is ready to take a chance. Someone who is ready to embrace vulnerability. Someone who is ready to discover what happens when fear is replaced by faith. The transformation has been gradual, but it is undeniable. And now, your soulmate is preparing for a decision that could change everything. A decision influenced by the wisdom of their mother, the lessons of their journey, and the truth they can no longer ignore. Very soon, they will stop imagining what might happen and start taking action. Very soon, they will move from reflection to reality. Because the conversation with their mother was never the end of the story. It was the beginning of a new chapter. A chapter filled with courage, honesty, and possibilities they once thought were out of reach. And when your soulmate finally takes the step they have been preparing for, they will discover that the future they feared pursuing may be the very future they were always meant to find. But the beautiful outcome that follows is the part no one sees coming. My beloved child, now we arrive at the final chapter of this story, and it is more beautiful than your soulmate ever imagined. If you have stayed until this moment, then these words are meant to bring hope to your heart. The journey was never just about hidden feelings, difficult choices, or unanswered questions. It was about growth. It was about courage. Most importantly, it was about learning that real connections deserve honesty rather than fear. After weeks of reflection and countless moments of self-discovery, your soulmate finally made a decision. They stopped waiting for the perfect moment. They stopped searching for guarantees. They stopped allowing fear to control what their heart already knew. What happened next changed everything because they chose truth. They chose to be honest about their feelings, honest about their hopes, and honest about the future they secretly wanted. The conversation with their mother had given them confidence, but the real transformation came from within. They realized that every fear they carried was smaller than the regret they would feel if they never tried. They understood that some opportunities come into our lives for a reason and that some people leave a mark on our hearts that cannot be ignored. Once they accepted that truth, everything became clearer. My beloved child, the moment they stopped running from their feelings, peace began replacing confusion. The emotional weight they had been carrying for so long started to lift. The uncertainty that once filled their mind no longer felt as powerful. Instead of focusing on what could go wrong, they focused on what could go right. And that simple shift opened a brand new chapter in their life. Stay till the end because this changes everything. The connection they once kept hidden slowly moved into the light. Conversations became more honest. Understanding became deeper. The distance created by uncertainty began to disappear. Day by day, the future that once felt impossible started becoming something real. Not because everything happened overnight, but because both courage and truth were finally allowed to do their work. Their mother watched this transformation with a smile. She could see the difference in them. The fear that once clouded their eyes had been replaced by confidence. The hesitation that once held them back had been replaced by determination. She knew that her child was no longer living according to fear. They were finally living according to what their heart believed. My beloved child, every challenge they faced along the way served a purpose. Every delay taught patience. Every disappointment taught wisdom. Every moment of doubt prepared them for the clarity they now possess. Looking back, they realized that nothing had been wasted. Even the difficult chapters helped guide them toward this beautiful ending. As time passed, your soulmate discovered something remarkable. The future they had spent so much time worrying about was not nearly as frightening as they imagined. In fact, it was filled with possibilities they had never allowed themselves to see. The honesty they once feared became the source of their freedom. The vulnerability they once avoided became the foundation of something meaningful and lasting. Stay till the end, because this is the most important message of all. The story does not end with regret. It does not end with silence. It does not end with missed opportunities. It ends with courage. It ends with growth. It ends with two hearts finally moving toward truth instead of away from it. And here is the beautiful conclusion, my beloved child. Your soulmate's decision to tell their mother about you became one of the best choices they ever made. Not because it solved every problem instantly, but because it started a chain of events that led them toward happiness, clarity, and peace. The conversation they once feared became the beginning of a brighter future. So walk away from this message knowing that sometimes the most beautiful chapters begin with one brave conversation. Sometimes the support we fear we will not receive is waiting for us all along. And sometimes the future we hesitate to pursue becomes the very future that brings us the most joy. My beloved child, trust the journey. Trust the lessons. Trust the timing of your life. The story ends with gratitude in the heart, hope for the future, and the comforting realization that love grows strongest when it is guided by honesty, courage, and faith. And that is exactly how this story was always meant to end.